focus on simple foods. What's the opposite of that you see people doing? Like if you had to paint a picture.
Well, simple in the sense that there's a hierarchy of importance and priorities when it comes to nutrition. Now, there's definitely value in what a lot of wellness channels and individuals communicate when it comes to food. But if right now you're eating typical American diet, 70% ultra processed food diet, you don't have to go all the way from that to grass-fed, grass-finished, organic. I only eat meat from food that is blessed by a Tibetan monk or whatever. Right? Just start very basic. I'm just gonna go with no ultra processed foods. Just start there, and then it may be I'm gonna hit my protein targets. Then it can be food quality. Now I'm gonna go with the more grass-fed variety. Go with foods that are easily digestible. This makes a huge difference in how you feel. Easily digestible foods tend to lead to better behaviors later on. Poor digestion, bloat, constipation causes lots of different changes in the body, mild immune reactions that you might not necessarily notice, but changes in how you feel that later on lead to different types of cravings. Good examples of foods that people tend to have issues digesting: gluten, dairy, legumes, tend to be up there. So, rice, potato, well-cooked vegetables. Well-cooked vegetables easier to digest than raw vegetables. Meats, eggs, fish, chicken. And you can definitely make them taste good with seasoning, salsas. Prepare your foods ahead of time, once a week or twice a week. Make big batches, prepare your meals, and then go from there. That's like a really good winning strategy to pre-prep your foods.
Yeah, the other thing that I hear when I was watching that video that you made, which we'll link to in the show notes below, again on Mind Pump TV, is focus on simple foods also means what can you kind of quickly and consistently make? Because I love meal prepping, and then everybody hits that week where they got so busy and they didn't get a chance to meal prep. What can you make that you like, that you enjoy, and that is good? It's not maybe great. You don't have to make some I mean, I love to me, the simplest foods that I make are great. Like I genuinely love them and I crave them. Your palate changes. But sometimes I see that people feel like they have to make something quite elaborate, and it really doesn't have to be that way. What can you make consistently that's simple, that you can stick to over a period of time and actually genuinely look forward to?
I mean, a real basic, simple, like if you could tolerate dairy, right? If dairy is not an issue for you digestive-wise, like full-fat cottage cheese with some fruit in it is a great high-protein, great macronutrient breakdown meal. It requires almost zero prep, right? Some tuna fish with some fruit or some crackers, or throw in some olive oil in that. Like really easy, basic stuff that you can eat. Right? And then the pre-prepped stuff, right? I made some food on Monday or Sunday, and I just have it ready to go, and I can throw some salsa on it. Eggs, very easy to prepare. Like scrambling eggs takes almost no time. Like, overcomplicating things just puts barriers between you and potential success and progress. Like simple foods like that are very, very easy to follow, very easy to make. You can go to the grocery store, you can buy it off the shelf. Like I said, tuna fish and cottage, these are bodybuilding staples. And I know, by the way, they're bodybuilding staples for a reason. They were easy and inexpensive. And they can oftentimes, you can dress them up, make them taste good.
We've talked a lot about protein, even on the last conversations that you were here on. You gave some fantastic examples then and also in this interview. One area that I've seen people actually recently struggle with as they up their protein is making sure they get enough fiber.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite high fiber foods that are simple? Some of the high fiber foods that are out there sometimes that are not single ingredients, sometimes, like you said, make people feel bloated, make them feel not that great. Are any couple of them that you love relying on as a staple as part of your diet?
Berries. Berries are phenomenal, phenomenally high sources of fiber, low glycemic index carbohydrates. You can eat a whole bunch of them. They're very low calorie, require zero prep, like blackberries, raspberries, blueberries. So those are some of my favorite ways to give clients extra sources of fiber. And then if digestion's an issue, psyllium husk is a very easy pro-digestive, cholesterol lowering supplement. You could take 3 capsules with a meal and find some great regularity, and there's some great health benefits to taking psyllium. And then well-cooked vegetables, like cook them well, add a little olive oil, it could be asparagus, it could be, broccoli. The cruciferous ones, sometimes people have issues with, but well-cooked vegetables, great, spinach, like a great way to get things moving and to add satiety to your meal.
All right, here's another bonus one that you've recently talked about on your channel, and it's the benefits of, as you're thinking about your fittest year yet, it's the benefits of not sitting too much.
Yeah.
You've already talked about walking and how sprinkling a few walks, especially after meals, can be a fantastic way to improve your metabolism, but also give you perspective, boost your mood. And the reality is, a lot of us still find ourselves sitting on such a frequent basis. Do you want to talk about some of the challenges and the dangers to our goals that sitting faces, oversitting?
There's two categories of activity you want to look at. There's structured workouts, which, strength training being the most effective, generally speaking, for health, metabolism boost, fat loss, etc. But that's a structured workout. There's a program, there's programming, there's exercises, and then there's just activity, walking being phenomenal, but also just not sitting. So standing, or again, avoiding sitting for too long. In fact, there was a study that was relatively, I think it was the last 5 years, that showed that inactivity was as bad for your health as smoking was, just sitting, right? So, and by the way, people who work out every single day oftentimes are also considered sedentary. Like, I'm sedentary. I exercise almost every day, but that's about an hour a day. The rest of the day is this, sitting in here in this chair and doing podcasts. So the more you can just not sit. So if you're doing something that requires you to sit, see if you can do it while standing. And then while you're standing, shift your body weight side. It sounds so simple and so silly, but it has profound effects on health. And again, there's data that supports all of this. Getting on the floor is another one, right? There's a difference between sitting in a chair and sitting on the floor. Sitting on the floor requires more core stability, more mobility in general. It requires you to get up and get back down. There's a great documentary I was watching not that long ago on villages in Okinawa where they have these kind of traditional homes. And you had these, 90-year-old individuals whose houses had no chairs. The traditional way of sitting was to sit on the floor. And here they are, 90 years old, able to get up and down off the floor. Why? Because they did it every single day. Like, that's a silly one. It sounds silly, but it makes a big difference than just not sitting in a chair, sitting on the floor. Requires more muscle, more stability, more activation than sitting in a chair like this one.
On a practical level, with you sitting so much and yet still working out and you're fit and you focus on your diet and all those other aspects, do you go out of your way to try to hit a step goal in the day, whatever that goal would be? Sorry to interrupt, but memory loss is on the rise. And that's why I've created a free guide that you can get right now featuring the top brain boosting foods that you can include into your diet starting today to help you combat this. I've worked with a few of my friends to feature 5 foods in this free guide. And guess what? A couple of them will probably surprise you. Make sure you're one of the people that focuses on keeping your brain sharp by downloading this guide today. Just click on the link below or scan the QR code and I'll send you the guide right away.
I don't track like I used to. When you look at the data on walking, about 85% of the benefits that come from walking are derived right around 8,000 steps. So if you hit about 8,000 steps a day, which if you were to walk 10 minutes after breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then also try to stay relatively conscious of moving throughout the day, like taking the bathroom on the second floor of your office and climbing the stairs every time, parking a little further in the parking lot, you'll probably hit 8,000 steps. The other thing you could do is build muscle because it's so protective against being sedentary. It's one of the most protective things you could do. So my workouts, which are typically an hour most days, revolve around building muscle, which has the protective effect that helps protect against, like I said, what I'm doing right now. But it's all, one of the things that we do in here, during the day, because we'll come in here and we'll podcast and we'll record episodes, and we're in here for most of the day, is we try to break up the day with a walk. We go up and after recording 1 or 2 episodes, we'll go on a walk for 15 or 20 minutes. It actually also helps the show. It actually helps with the way that we present ourselves and communicate on the podcast. So you're just breaking up the day by moving. It's got to be a conscious thing. Back in the day, I would hear the recommendation or the advice where, you would hear people say things like, park your car further in the, down the parking lot or take the stairs. And I used to think how silly that was. No, that's great advice. It's really good advice. Like if you work in an office and there's a bathroom that you need to use, maybe pick the one on the second floor. And that's all you do. All I do is I don't use that one. I use the one on the second floor and I walk up to it. Like that alone will have huge impacts on your activity. You can track your steps and see for yourself.
If you're going to take some of the things that we talked about today and kind of put it together in a program, and what I mean by that is that a lot of times around this time of year, people think that they need to do so much. And a big part of your guys' content is that you'd be amazed at how nailing the basics and just focusing on a couple of few things, which when you look at it, could feel like so little, actually makes a huge difference. So if you're going to put some of the resistance training, walking, dietary, lifestyle, you already talked about the creatine, so I'll leave out the supplement side of it. If you're going to put that together in a realistic program that somebody could use who's starting off and get a chance to run with that. Obviously, you've said previously on our podcast, which a lot of people took to heart, is that if you can afford it, finding a good trainer, and not even if you can afford it, spend that money there rather than that upgraded flat screen TV or that next iPhone. It's going to be one of the best return on investments
100%.
in your life. So that person will help you personalize this to your situation, but you could use some of your advice as a base framework of a program or protocol you could do. So if you would put those things together in sort of a weekly program, how would you do that?
So if this is new to you and you're just getting started, walk after breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 5 to 10 minutes. Hit your target body weight and protein from whole foods. So not from shakes and bars, but from whole foods. Eat the protein first. Strength train once a week. Go to the gym. Do 4 exercises. Make sure that they're big gross motor movement compound type exercises. Things like squatting, deadlifting, pressing, and rowing. Like if you just did that and you stay consistent doing that, you would get exceptional results. And then when you do the workout, don't beat yourself up in the gym. Practice the exercises. Use a weight that's challenging, but practice the technique and skill of the exercise and master the technique of the exercise. That right there, you'll be great.
YouTube, if you enjoyed what you just saw, keep watching for more great content on how to improve your brain and your life.
If you walked for 10 minutes after breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which would be a combined total of 30 minutes a day, you would get better insulin sensitizing effects from doing that than you would from walking an hour at any other time during the day.